That's right, you geeks. Welcome into the Echo Screen, the official podcast of the Clan of the Grey Wolf. At long last, and with no avail to our finding a chat solution problem.
Yep.
We're finally live.
Yeah. So if you're joining us live, you might notice that we're not using our normal IRC chat. We're using YouTube, and you might be wondering, hey, what's up with that? And the answer is we don't know. So
we don't really know.
We
just the server's still working, but
some technical
the client
difficulty.
Wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, we'll figure it out for next time.
So we rolled with it.
We're just going to use YouTube for comments. Don't worry, though, because for those of you that do know about the program and want to ask questions, we're just going to do those via Twitter tonight. So you're not missing anything if you're watching the show live and can't see the pretty little chat stuffs going by. Anyway, as always, I am your host, the Commodore, and with me is Rue from in a land far, far away. Rue, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well and not snowed over. How are you doing?
I am snowed over. But actually, thanks to a 12.5 horsepower, brand new, out of the box snowblower, I'm not stuck in the house, which is a good thing. So we got about 2.5 to 3 feet of snow, which is more snow than I've ever seen in my life. At one time, that wasn't on a ski slope.
Welcome to your new normal,
and welcome to the new normal. But anyway, you guys don't. Hey, the good news is I still have power, so I can do the show, which is important.
Yes, bonus.
Hey, we missed. We've got a little irregularity to the schedule. We're not trying to throw you guys off, and we've been talking a little bit about it. But yeah, there were a lot of things going on. I know you had MagFest, which I'm sure you're eager to talk to everybody about. But we had a little bit of jostling with the schedule with the program. Don't worry, we're going to establish some good regularity as you're all used to very, very soon. Okay, what is this show going to be about, you might ask? What is the topic du jour?
Well, we came up with the best clickbait title we could possibly think of.
Which was?
Do graphics matter?
And
I think I modified that to do graphics still matter?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, the best clickbait one would have been like 13 reasons
why graphics
still matter. Right, yeah.
You won't believe number 7. Doctors hate number 5. Yeah. Also, Kim Kardashian's butt. Right,
that would have broke the internet too. Anyway, this is a topic I've been kicking around for a while. We'll flesh it out when it needs to be fleshed out. But basically, the idea goes like this: graphics wars were going on during a lot of the retro game or what we now consider retro games. Kind of in their life, in the lifetime of those systems, there were graphic wars about who could make the best looking games. And I think today is a good time to revisit whether or not graphics really matter in games in general, and whether or not graphics matter in what you buy and play as well, which are two very different topics, but we'll try to cover both of them. That's the topic du jour, but as those of you that watch the program regularly will know, there are 3 portions of the program, and that is only one of them. The first part of the program is the Tids and Bits, the T&B.
I love the T&B.
The news and notes, otherwise known as things that we think you should know about that has happened since we last spoke. We'll cover a couple of those topics.
Or 10.
I'm sure none of you were looking forward to that part of the program. Then we will get into the question and answer. Why do we even have that portion of the program? Anyway,
why do we even have that lever?
Yeah. Anyway, then we'll get into the topic du jour, and then we'll go to the third part of the program, which happens to be the question and answer, which is what I alluded to previously. If you have questions that you would like us to answer, they could be burning life questions. They could be questions about video games. They could be questions about the topic du jour. They could be questions of general geekery, or even, as Mark Chan cringes every time I say it, the housing market. Whatever you like.
Or, maybe ricotta cheese.
Ricotta cheese or meatballs and gravy. The point is, whatever you might have questions about, you can get us to answer them live during the third part of the program. You don't have to wait till then to ask the question. How do you ask a question, you might ask?
How do you ask a question?
Thank you for asking. All you have to do is tweet me at It's the Commodore, all one word, and I will answer the best of. Well, we will answer. I will pick the best of the questions asked during the program, and we will answer them live on the air. And I'm guessing, since we started about 12 minutes late, it's going to be a little while if you're waiting for that part of the program. But anyway, so we're really breaking from our trend of trying to make the show shorter. By the way, every time I mention that we need to make the show shorter, because you and I have been consciously trying to make the show shorter for a long time.
I've been consciously trying to make the show shorter. I think
Correct,
you consciously try to make me have an aneurysm at every turn by making it longer and longer every single time.
That's true.
It's all about that bass.
That's true. No, it's not about that at all.
No
but
trouble.
it is. But every time we do mention that, people come to me and say that they think the program should just be a straight 2 hours. To which I say,
Screw
you're
you.
crazy. Yeah, you're crazy. Anyway.
But I think we found a good idea. I think we're instead just going to go to a weekly podcast. What do you say to that?
I don't think that's going to be possible.
Although maybe we should just go ahead and commit to this now.
Yeah.
We've been a little bit off on the schedule lately, first and third Wednesday of the month, etc. I think we're willing to commit to just saying we're a bi-weekly podcast right now.
Yeah,
Does that sound good?
I like that idea.
So
yeah, it sounds good to me.
So from now on, every 2 weeks, you can have some Echo Screen goodness in your iTunes, in your Stitcher, or your Android podcasting app of choice. Just search for Echo Screen Live, and of course, here live on YouTube. So we will be a fortnightly podcast from this point on, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
I'm not very good at math, but to me, I think this works to your benefit, folks, because it means you actually get a couple more episodes a year. That's pretty good.
We're not screwing you anymore by only giving you 24 episodes a year. You're getting a grand 26.
That is correct. And it doesn't change on leap years, according to my calculations. So anyway, we'll keep that kind of aside. Just for those of you that do enjoy the program and want a little more of it, that'll be good for you. Because we love the peoples. We love the peoples.
Peoples are good.
All right, let's get right down to it. So a little T&B action. What do you got?
T&B. So let's start off with probably some of the bigger news. Well, I mean, some of the bigger news in video game journalism, I guess, lately. And that's Gamergate. Let's talk all Gamergate. No, just kidding.
I was about to say, this was not in the show.
In the past day or so, rumors have really been flying around that Joystick is closing shop. And I know you and I have been long fans of Joystick, although I don't read it so much anymore. In fact, I don't really read any given... With the rise of social media, and you follow certain maybe journalists on Twitter and stuff like that to see what kind of interesting stories might come up. I don't really hit video game websites as much as I used to, specifically for news. So I
don't read it either.
Yeah, so I haven't been Joystick
much anymore, I should say. So
I guess we're the problem because
therein lies the problem. Right?
Yeah, the rumor is that AOL, which owns Joystick, is going to close it up. No confirmations yet. There was some great kind of gallows humor from Joystick the other day. AOL is likely to shutter Joystick, reports Recode. Hey wait, that's us. So sources, and this is exactly what it says in the Joystick article about this. Sources tell Joystick that the staff is aware of the closure, but corporate hasn't officially told them, so they are unable to acknowledge anything out of concern that it will cause immediate shutdown. We've reached out for more information. We will update as we always have when we know more. So
kind of entertainingly painful. Was that to read? More
or painfully, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm getting shades of OneUp.com's closure about a year or so ago, from under IGN, which owned them. It's sad. I always enjoy Joystick. A lot of the big names in video game journalism really seem to get their start there. You know, the McElroys. Yep. Which we got to see at PAX, our first PAX East.
Chris Grant.
Yep.
It was phenomenal.
Always entertaining, amusing. And you know what? It's a shame this happened so soon after, I think it was maybe a month or so ago, that they officially came out as getting rid of review scores.
Yes.
Which is a move I've always really respected, because it's to give an arbitrary score to a game is, hurts the industry, and can be misleading, and is just great fodder for internet arguments. You can recommend a game based on its merits without having to give it a score by actually explaining what it's all about, and people should just dang read it. So,
yeah, I mean, I still like scores. I kind of like Polygon's policy on this, where most of the Joystick people actually went to. they still give scores, but and by the way, highly controversial scores. But I think but their thought is that you're supposed to read the review first. Of course, they put the little shortcuts on their page about that just shows you the score. So I guess that's not a very good policy. Anyway, I agree. Joystick was one of the first. I wouldn't say it was the first gaming website that I bookmarked and pretty much came back to every day. I visited other game websites a lot. Obviously, there were back when there were all the magazines and things like that, PC Gamer and so on and so forth. But Joystick really kind of was the first news source I regularly went to on the internet.
Yeah, for me, the first one was IGN, which is a lot of people, they were there very early on, but Joystick was the second. And Joystick's really what I moved to from IGN when I wanted more of a slightly more independent source and stuff like that. I big respect for them, and I hope all the best. It goes on to show the state of the games journalism industry is tenuous
Yes.
at best. It's difficult to hold a job in it right now.
It is.
A lot of websites are trying to figure out exactly how to keep themselves sustainable.
Yeah, and I would argue that doesn't have the Gamergate argument might be relevant here, but not to a certain degree, because I don't necessarily think it's necessarily about quality as much as I think it's a lot more about how people want to digest information now. Not a lot of people want to read.
Go to a website every day and check it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's much more video oriented now. If I want to go see what a game is like, I'll go watch somebody play it for a little while, like I did with Minecraft before I bought Minecraft. I mean, not that I'm a huge Let's Player or anything, but it's a good way to get a feel. If you like somebody's opinion, you can go and kind of digest that in an easier way than sitting there and reading somebody's review of it. The gaming news thing, Twitter really, if you're looking to get news immediately, then Twitter is really the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. Gaming news is kind of outmoded by Twitter. I mean, I don't know. A lot of the things that they do have really drastically changed since the format of Joystick was really decided upon. The thing that I like the most are the features, where they write in-depth kind of pieces, and they've been doing that a lot less recently.
Yeah, that is the thing I really like about Polygon is their features are usually very good.
The features are great.
But anyway, yeah. Sorry.
The Joystick going away.
Yeah, sorry about that, Joystick. We have fond memories, and good luck to all the people who work there. Hopefully they can land on their feet.
That's right.
News from you.
Yes,
Tids and bits.
I have news. So the news for this time, and anybody that already follows me on Twitter is going to know this, because I was practically oozing.
Ew. Get that
with
checked.
Support. Yeah, with support, and you're gonna think I really do need to get checked after you hear what I'm about to say. Oozing with support and interest for the first time ever in Microsoft, after Microsoft made their announcements surrounding the Windows 10 launch last week. So those of you that know us well enough know that we don't have a lot of high praise for Microsoft in almost any shape or form. However, I'd say I'm really excited about Windows 10 being available to anybody that currently runs Windows 7 and Windows 8 in the first year. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about the capabilities of the HoloLens, which is kind of the best of, think of kind of a combination between Google Glass and the holodeck in Star Trek combined together.
That seemed to generate the most buzz out of the press conference, basically.
Well, it's like, for the first time ever, there's this really great kind of innovative thought from Microsoft. It's not just about tying you to the PC, because Microsoft's always been about, hey, buy a PC and we're just going to sell you Windows because that's how we make money, right? Mm-hmm. This is clearly outside of the box about, hey, let's combine a lot of our expertise together and try to unhinge people from the PC for once. And I think they're having more success doing that with a lot of their a lot of the stuff that they make now with Xbox. And it's like I don't want to play my Xbox games on my PC. Can you just let me have my own way with that? So they're coming around. Is I guess what I'm trying to say. And if you haven't seen the demo yet of HoloLens, or you hadn't read the Wired piece which I think most robustly describes the experience of actually with having the headset on. You should go check it out. It's unbelievable. Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited for Windows 10 because I am frankly running the pretty much the exact same computer I built right before we started Clan of the Grey Wolf over 5.5 years ago. So starting to show age. So I was planning on building it up, but I really did not want to move over to Windows 8. But 10 looks to be doing pretty well. What the hell happened to Windows 9? Come on, explain this, Mr. Microsoft.
Are you being serious? Because I will explain it. It's very simple. The simple explanation is that they already made Windows 9. So
is that the Windows Phone or something like that?
No. So think about so Apple went with Windows 10.x, right? So came out with Windows 9.5. What would you think? Windows 95. They already had Windows 95. Right?
Seriously, people think that they're selling Windows 95 again?
No, it's not that they're saying that. The issue is, I think that there's great confusion over the fact that they had Windows. So, entire architectures are built on Windows 9.x.
Okay.
And I only know this because if you ever talk to folks in IT circles, right? I remember actually when we were in college, we went to Career Day where they were talking about the computer systems that they run at a local community college, and they were talking about running Windows 9x.
Okay.
Now there is no Windows 9x.
Fair enough. Microsoft is well known for not having confusing naming structures.
Yes. Not at all.
I'm going to go ahead and buy an Xbox One this weekend, by the way.
And a Zune.
Yes.
Anyway. So anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of Microsoft, and that's the best I could possibly say because I've been so down on them for so long.
That's true. You are quite the Apple fanboy. Anyway, more news. Club Nintendo is closing.
Yes, I heard this too.
Yes, but to be replaced with some other form of loyalty program.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So what this means is that if you have any of these little codes in your games, your Nintendo games, use them up, input them by the end of March, I believe. They'll be opening up a bunch of new gifts or items that you can purchase with the either the stars or the coins that you get for registering games.
Yes.
They'll be releasing some more of those in February in North America, just to kind of clear out the warehouse and be like, hey, thanks for all that stuff, but we really want to put this thing to bed. I mean, Club Nintendo's been going for 6 years, and people will complain about it, but at least it's something. It's some sort of a loyalty program, and I've gotten some interesting stuff out of it. I've got some neat little posters and downloaded some games. I have a lot saved up, so I'm curious to see what they roll out next month. But I mean, it's sad, but I'm sure they want to make it. They want to update it a bit. They want to. I don't know. They haven't released any more details about what the new loyalty program will be. I'm wondering if it's going to be all digital based, maybe.
That's probably a good solid bet. The other thing we should mention is that Nintendo is back to being a revenue, not revenue positive, a profitable organization as of this quarter.
I mean, they're still not
certainly good news.
They're still not doing amazing, but they're doing pretty well from what I saw. I think they're. I don't want to say off the top of my head. I was looking at the report. Or the summarization of the report, I should say, that they just had for the quarter, and
key areas of growth in good places. I don't know. I'm not a buyer of Nintendo quite yet, but I think it's good to see them that they're back on the positive side of the profitable scenario.
I don't think many people honestly want Nintendo to go away. They're a good force for gaming. So.
Yeah, I could see either of their two competitors in the home console wars die before I'd like to see them die. That's for sure.
True. So, good memories of Club Nintendo. Some really interesting things that they've given away in the past, like gold nunchucks for the Wii and giant augmented reality cards for the 3DS, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what happens.
I'm still not in the Club Nintendo in a lot of ways, but I get it. Makes sense.
That's why you need to buy a Wii U.
I do. It's never going to happen though. Anyway, so trust me. So So I guess with that, we'll put the T and B to bed. We could talk about Apple having the greatest quarter of any corporation ever in the history of corporations, but I'm just going to leave that behind because I really don't want to talk about it.
What is with you people? Anyway, I do have one more T and B if you don't have anything else.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead. Yep, sure.
So Google has announced the next fiber cities, the next cities to receive gigabit internet from Google Fiber. These include Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina. So to which I say to the Commodore, neener, 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 stick your head in peener.
All right. Well, we'll see what they deliver to you, but just know right now I already have 105 meg connections. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wait, is that a gigabit? Because it doesn't sound like a gigabit.
It's not a gigabit. It's not even close to a gigabit. That's okay. I've seen your router. Your router can't even do gigabit connection over the WAN, so don't even try to.
That's okay, because you know what? Google has their own router that can provide 400 Mbps.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Okay.
Trust me. I've been looking this up the past few days. Okay. It's very exciting.
We'll see.
In all seriousness, so about a year ago, Google came up with a list of I can't remember. Something like a dozen maybe metropolitan areas that they were looking at for Google Fiber. I honestly thought most would be approved. To see Google basically say that 4 of those areas are going to move forward while the rest are still kind of in limbo. I don't know. I just was. It's hard to follow what Google's doing at times. They like to roll out a lot of stuff that may or may not go anywhere. Hello, Google Wave. But I was just I was hoping, yes, but also interested in seeing a larger rollout. Having said that, I'm glad to be in one of those areas, so it should be interesting. I'll give full reports, and we'll be able to stream Echo Screen Live in 4K, hopefully before too long.
4K. I don't think anyone wants to see that.
Everyone wants to see the pimples on your face.
No, they do not.
And your tongue. All right, I'm done with the T&B now.
Yeah,
I had to
TMI on the T&B. Okay, on to the topic du jour, which is the topic. So I set this up a little bit in the intro, but I've been thinking about this one for a while. There was such a clamoring when kind of you and I were growing up and just kind of coming into gaming age. Which is kind of a weird topic to think about anyway. What is really gaming age? But we were playing a lot of video games at that point, and video games were just kind of in their infancy for the second time around in America, and there was this huge kind of push for PC and the coming off of the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64 was going to have incredible graphics and 3D and hardware acceleration. So the race was really on to provide the greatest graphical experience inside of a video game. Well documented. You couldn't spend enough money on a graphics card, everything else, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I started to think about that, and it almost seems kind of silly now to a certain extent when you think about all the games that are out these days and how popular they are. Things like Minecraft, right, which has ridiculously poor graphics on purpose. Mm-hmm. Or, the renaissance, as we've well documented on this show, the renaissance of the 2D platformer, or even 2.5D, right? And, graphics seem to be kind of diminishing in importance, especially relative to how they were back in the 90s. So I wanted to talk a little bit about if graphics really still matter in video games.
Well, the obvious answer is yes, because we're not all going to text adventures.
Yeah.
So yes, to some degree, but graphics still do matter. But you mentioned Minecraft. I just played for the first time Nidhogg this weekend. I know it's another indie game. A lot of indie games, which with small teams and people with not $60 million to blow on a budget for a game and then close down their studio. They stick to the more simple because they have to. Nidhogg is a great example of that. It is a fascinating and a really fun game where, if you've never played it, it's kind of like a duel meets tug of war. And it looks like, the graphics look like something really stylized out of the the Atari era almost.
Nice.
But much better than the Atari. But it's just like little how you even like almost Pitfall Harry looking guys with swords that are fighting, and you have to stab the other guy and then run past him to get to the goal, and he's trying to do the same thing to you.
Gotcha.
But the thing is that the gameplay is so finely tuned that the stylized graphics of that, it could be almost any graphics, really. It could be like little cherubic anime characters fighting, or it could be like a big, you could see it in almost any number of graphical representations, and the game would be just as popular. Not that it's ridiculously popular, but it is one of the better known and better selling indie games of the past year or so.
Yep.
I think we saw the guys from Geek Nights talking about it at PAX East this past year.
Yes.
So the thing is that like the graphical representation of that particular instance doesn't really matter. It didn't sell people on the game. It didn't, I don't believe, detract anyone from the game. If you looked at 20 years ago, something like that trying to do well, I don't know if that would be the case.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sorry.
So there's two angles you just brought up, and I think they're both important to talk about. One is kind of more philosophical. So forget about the popularity of games for a second. All right, let's just go down this particular aisle. So I guess the overall philosophical question: do graphics matter? They certainly matter to a certain degree, because we don't want to all play graphic, or text games, right? But I guess the question is: do graphics matter in how you really experience a game? Let's answer that question.
Okay,
Forget
so
how popular
you're going
they
more
are,
philosophical first. Okay.
how they sell. Just talk about, do graphics affect the way that you interact with a game and can enjoy and experience a game?
It depends on the game, doesn't it?
So maybe there are specific genres that lend themselves to, relying on graphics more. Fair enough. Speaking kind of from my own position on this, I think graphics absolutely have something to do with our enjoyability of a game. However, I think there is I think in my own mind there's a kind of uncanny valley, almost like a continuum with graphics. Because I have found that I actually kind of like more of the stylized stuff, what you're talking about, right? Some of the more stylized pieces, a little more unrealistic than the kind of photorealistic, I can see absolutely everything, and, it's absolutely beautiful, clear, crystal clear, thousands of polygons, right?
Yeah, do you remember, like, over a decade ago, people, like, the thing anyone could ever talk about in a game was how the water looked? Like, that was a big talking point.
Right.
Far Cry was well known for how well the water looked. Yeah. That was important.
And Far Cry was even pretty advanced in that. I remember, some of the water effects being tested, like the PS2 demo, right? Wasn't the PS2 or the PS3 demo was the ducks in the bathtub, right? Or maybe that was the PS2 demo. I actually can't remember which one that was. It was one of the PlayStations had that. Maybe it was both, actually. But anyway, so yeah, water effects. I remember actually, what was a 3D test? 3D Mark had a water test that you do when you tested your 3D card to see how well it was working and everything. Yeah, no end to how silly some of those things look, because I think that's not the first thing that comes to our head. I remember thinking the first time I ever saw Gran Turismo, a replay of a race in Gran Turismo, I went, oh my God, these graphics are unbelievable. But you get a little bit farther after that, and graphics kind of stop wowing you to a certain extent. When was the last time you picked up a game and went, oh my God, the graphics on this are absolutely amazing?
The PS4 and Xbox One, if we're sticking to consoles in particular for this discussion, just because, you could talk PC, but whatever.
Yeah.
The Xbox One and PS4 definitely push that they have great graphics. I got to play a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5 on it on the Xbox or PS4 a little while ago. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is actually really impressive, like how realistic the graphics are. But the thing is that after a little while, I'm not really thinking about it anymore. Every once in a
Right.
while, it's like, oh, wow, that looks really cool. Okay, now what am I doing? You know,
That's my point.
yeah.
We get kind of used to the fact that everything looks really, really good, and then it doesn't really matter that someone spent the better part of a year making, little pixel on the screen look absolutely perfect, right?
Yes.
And that's so that's me for Grand Theft Auto 3 to Grand Theft Auto 5.
All right, you're going
Are the
away.
graphics playing a part there? I think so. Why am I going away? Where am I
See,
going?
this is why I need Google Fiber. You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, see, I hear you kind of wobbling back and forth. All right, so I'll go back. I think I actually prefer Grand Theft Auto 3 to Grand Theft Auto 5. And I think the graphics have something to do with that. The game is clearly amazing. Grand Theft Auto 5 is an amazing game. But Grand Theft Auto 3 is simpler. It's easier to understand. I can just sit there. I don't have to process all the other crap in the game. I'm not trying to find the photorealistic person, needle in a haystack that is the person I'm looking for. I can just see when I look at Grand Theft Auto 3 exactly what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I'll agree on that. I want to go to the chat for a second because I did notice a really good comment from Derpy-Derpy-Doo. Sorry, no. Rockadilla.
Yep.
Good old Rockadilla, who says that graphics can detract from a game just as they can add to it.
Absolutely.
And so that let's parse that statement for a minute because graphics can add or detract to a game. They don't make the game necessarily.
Yes.
So first off, I think to take that comment and apply it to what we're saying here, graphics can enhance a game. That's something that they can do definitely, like we were just talking about with the Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
Or they can detract. Are there any games that you can think that the graphics really detracted for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go back right now, I mean, this is one of the key areas that I was thinking about, kind of warming up to the show tonight. And you think about the idea of the entire 3D generation, right?
Yep.
So if we go back and we look at the 64, we look at the PS1, we're going to see some games that by today's standards are almost unplayable. And even at the time, if we really admitted it, were pretty unplayable. But we found a way past it because we were so excited about 3D, right? So, think about every third-person game you ever played on the PS1 or on the 64 that had a floating camera, and how bad it was whenever you turn a corner or go hit a wall and it would go behind the wall, or all this kind of stuff where you couldn't see what was going on.
That's a good
You
point.
I'm thinking some of the really old Tomb Raiders. I'm thinking Legacy of Kain. I'm thinking, some of those games
Bubsy
that
3D.
some of those games that were just ridiculously choppy by today's standards, that were so difficult to play because you can't tell where the action is.
Yes, and some, a game I actually had problems with when it first came out is one that does look dated, and that's Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah,
Because you have some really pretty, almost matte painting like graphics in the background that are static,
Right.
and on top of that you have like super polygonal Cloud with his meat hook hands or club hands, I should say, walking around, and I at times couldn't figure out where an entrance was or where an item was, right? Because I couldn't see it. And to get around that, to the game's credit, the people, I'm sure at some point during development, people realized, the team realized at Square, wow, it's kind of hard to tell where someone should go in this area because the graphics
Right.
can be a little not as they were whatever, just not as functional as they should have been or could have
Right.
been, I guess, on the PlayStation. So they had that option where if you press, I think it's the select button, little arrows pop up over every entrance and exit, and I think there was a finger pointing over you to show you, which is funny to think about because that seems like such a really rudimentary thing to have to put into a game that even like the NES Final Fantasies didn't need. So in that way, I mean, they had to put that in so that the graphics it didn't take you so out of the game you couldn't even play it, or it made it frustrating to play, I should say.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there was I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I think there's a really cool. So Double Fine, right? Tim Schafer's studio. They are do a lot of really cool stuff. Anyway, go check those guys out. They have a YouTube channel, and they just started this series where they go and kind of contact famous people that make video games, and kind of they play through the game that they created and talk about it. And there's a couple different games that they've done so far. And the most recent one they did was Doom. And it's really, really cool to watch it because you basically start to understand how the engine itself contributed to the fact that they had so much more freedom than they had under like Wolfenstein, right? Wolfenstein had such crappy graphics and everything had to be in squares, right? Doom had great graphical capabilities, so everything could be kind of triangular or hexagonal or whatever you needed them to be. They could be very angular rather than very square. And what that allowed them to do is a lot of cool things like zigzags and vertical and kind of hurdles and things like that. Mm-hmm. All kinds of things that you and I would never think about. But you know what that did? It basically allowed you to see kind of where to go. Like it's very easy to think of. You look at this, and there's like a light blinking here. You can see down a pathway. You can see down a hallway, and you say, "Oh, I need to go down the hallway." It becomes part of the fact that the graphics allow you to see kind of where to go. And a good game maker, I think, tries to design levels that draw you in particular ways. And what I'm always interested to see is how game makers and the folks that design the levels react to how people in mass kind of play a level. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Well, we tested this and everyone went left and no one went right and we didn't understand why, so we had to put this light in here that showed them to go right. You know what I mean? Like that stuff fascinates me because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well,
but anyway,
and you know what? That's part of a. Well, I mean, this whole thing is part of we kind of alluded to, but I kind of want to maybe get near the close of the topic by again just kind of looking back at how we've evolved as as gamers. Yes. The culture has evolved past graphics are the biggest thing in the world. I mean, God, when we were kids, it seemed like everyone was, well, what game has best graphics? What system has the best graphics? Well, does this have 3D? If it's 2D, that's like a baby's toy, But with Final Fantasy VII, like I was saying, the importance of having the graphics be pretty more than functional caused them to have to put in the red triangles, right? Yeah. Same kind of thing with what you were just talking about with Doom.
Yep.
And I so this past weekend I was at MagFest and got to see tons of fine friends of the website and from the chat, like Sonic Rose and Mike from Living in 8 Bits. But I also got the chance to meet up again with Jeff Benson, who is working on the Earthbound documentary. That Earthbound USA, which had a successful Kickstarter and is supposed to come out next year. Nice. And I recorded some footage for him for the documentary at PAX East this past year, but also he had some more. We were talking, and he had some more questions, so he interviewed me some more. And something that we touched on, or I guess I touched on in the interview, was about the graphical representation of Earthbound and what that meant for it. It came out in 94 in Japan. And the thing about reviews, I mean, there were a lot of actually pretty good reviews about Earthbound here in America. But one of the knocks usually against it was its graphics. It came out at a time when 3D games were starting to get big. PlayStation was out by that point, or at least about to come out. Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger were out like contemporaries, and those are really amazing graphics that push the Super Nintendo to their limits. Right. And here you have what looks like pretty kiddie, simple graphical design,
right?
And no one really liked it.
Right.
Or
at
not,
least
not that no one likes it.
stylized to be so. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, when that was part of the conversation was like, well, did the team who made it have the the know-how to make a game as graphically powerful as Final Fantasy 3? But whatever. The point being is that there were a lot of people at the time who wrote the game off because of its graphics. And the fact that it's become such a huge cult hit, like it was a cult hit when it came out, sure, but it's become a major cult hit in the past 5 or 6 years, with the prices skyrocketing on eBay and people clamoring for it on Virtual Console. Yep. Part of that, I think, is that now gamers can look past that. I think gamers have evolved to that point, where graphics aren't as important. And you can have not only new games like Nidhogg or Minecraft that can be simple graphically and powerful, but I think that's also part of the retro revolution of sorts that's going on right now, where you have kids, you have teenagers who were not alive at the time who are interested in looking at these old games and playing them. And that surprises me, because to me, when we were growing up, we would look at something like the Atari 2600 and be like, oh, wow, that looks like crap. I don't want to play that.
Right.
But kids today don't seem to have that problem for the most part. At least from what I see on YouTube, they're willing to give these old NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis games a shot because they look like fun.
True, and I think there's also a part of this that really comes from just being a young gamer. Because I think if I went and asked folks that I know that play games that are younger, they're going to start talking about, okay, well, why do I want to play this game on an Xbox, or why do you want an Xbox? And the first thing they're going to say is, oh, the games are unbelievably good. They're just so beautiful. The graphics are unbelievable. It's almost like that's a pure motivation when you're not as mature in understanding why you like video games. Mm-hmm. I think when you just kind of get into the experience, maybe the graphics are a lot more important. But when I think you mature and if you stick with video games, a lot of those people kind of drop off the face of the earth, right? Oh, this game is so beautiful. Like, they're on to the next thing. They don't care about video games anymore. But those of us that stick with it come to see that there's beauty that isn't really resting within the graphics, right? Mm-hmm. That there's plenty more to enjoy here, and that there are experiences that the graphics are the easiest way for us to experience things. They're the most visceral. They're the things that catch our attention the best. It's what we see, and what makes us kind of have the feelings that we feel in many cases in the easiest way from video games. Might not be the most important, might not be the best. It might not be, what actually makes a game or the experience of playing a game fun, but it certainly has a huge impact on it. And I would argue, too, the other thing that's changed, you highlighted this. Mm-hmm. It's no longer the way that a game sells anymore. You can make a game that isn't necessarily the prettiest thing in the world, and you can sell a lot of them. So things can be commercially acceptable that aren't graphical booms now. I'll end with this question to you. Do you think you could release a AAA game these days without a major investment in graphics?
Well, we've kind of had this discussion before with indie games and versus AAA games. I think so. Like, graphics don't need to be the end all be all necessarily for a AAA game, yep. But there is a level of expectation. If Grand Theft Auto 5 comes out and it looks, on par with, well, it kind of does look on par with Grand Theft Auto 4, but it is better, obviously better.
Yeah.
But if it looked like about as good or a little bit worse, I mean, people would be upset about that.
Yes, of course. Or if they came out with some kind of wild stylized version of it that wasn't photorealistic now.
I mean, people would knock the game, but I don't think it would be a death knell necessarily.
We've seen stuff like that. We've seen games come out that are kind of stylized different versions of what came out before it, and those generally don't do well. You kind of got to stay in the same vein, or else you really lose an audience commercially. But I agree. I think that video games have matured to a certain point, and video game audiences have matured to a certain point where graphics don't matter nearly as much as they used to. They still clearly matter, but I think at the end of the day, I think what we can all agree is that games are about fun, Games are about experiences. They're not necessarily about what looks prettiest. And at the end of the day, what you remember about the games that you really like, it's not necessarily about the graphics at all. It's about the experience, right? When I think of Final Fantasy VI, I'm not necessarily thinking about being, having this little pixel, art character move across, the caves of Narsh. I'm thinking about the story. I'm thinking about the music. I'm thinking about the experience of having played this, right?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with graphics.
Well put.
Or at least very little.
I mean, it has something, but it's not. I don't even think it ever was the be all end all. I just think most people actually realize that now, as opposed to 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yep.
All right, so for once we actually reached a conclusion here on
We
on
fixed
the
it.
topic du jour, which is pretty good. We fixed a problem, so that's fantastic.
The biggest problem in the universe.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, if any of you have an idea, because we were just thinking before the show about a couple of topics that came to mind to do for future shows. If you have any topics that you would like to see us think about or talk about, we would gladly accept those, especially considering the fact that we're going to be doing a couple more shows now than we used to do. We would love to
freaking
take.
out.
No, we're not freaking out, but we're close. If you have any show ideas you'd like to send us that you'd like to see on the topic du jour, kick it our way. You can tweet it at me at It's the Commodore, and we'll put that sucker on the show. Speaking of tweeting at me at It's the Commodore, a lot of people have been tweeting questions my way. If you've just joined us and you'd like to ask a question that we can answer live on the air, all you have to do is send me a tweet at It's the Commodore. If you're looking for the familiar chat, you'll realize it's not there on this evening's program due to a technical error.
Oops. Sorry,
yeah.
I spilled Coke on the server.
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't do that. It's bad for the server's teeth.
Bad form. So as we transition to the Q&A portion of the show, I also want to bring up our good friend of the show, and personal friend Nash, who I met in MagFest not met for the first time, but saw at MagFest this year.
Saw at MagFest, yes.
Gifted the two of us a wonderful device, tiny right here. It's actually a Raspberry Pi that is outfitted, and I forget exactly what the program is, and I haven't had a chance to check it yet. But I believe it is, if from what I've looked up, I think it's the Emulation Station, which is a program that runs off of a custom SD card called RetroPie.
It's awesome.
Nash, if you're if you're in the chat, please correct me if I'm incorrect. The point is that with this thing, you can emulate almost anything with an HDMI hook up to the TV. And there's USB connectors here, so you can get USB controllers and play them. So I think with some of the technical issues we might have had with the marathon this past year, Nash was like, I gotta get these clowns something better. So thank you very much. It's awesome. We can emulate
RetroPie.
RetroPie. Yep, that's what I thought.
Nash. Yep.
So we can emulate Apple II now, if need be.
Hey, now we're getting some ideas here.
Hey, you're good.
You're good. Yeah.
I don't see CDI in here, unfortunately, but
that's okay.
Maybe one day.
We got one of those.
So
that was not the problem. Although I did learn recently, as I tried to get a bunch of new CDI games, very difficult to burn one of those.
Is it?
Have it
no, that's what I was working on the day before the marathon. You have to go slow and low.
It's awful. I burned like 20 of them because the first one I burned worked perfectly, so I didn't care. And that was literally the only game that worked.
Yep.
So I just made a bunch of coasters.
That's why I had to use my old crappy laptop to burn all the CDI and Sega CD games. Because if you burn it too fast, I mean, these things did not read games. They weren't made at a time when you could burn that fast, really. So I looked all that crap up. But it's okay because we were able to play Thunder in Paradise finally. So
finally, which is a good one. Yeah, we missed that one. That was one that I burned a couple years back and never worked.
And yes, I do believe it emulates Sega Mega CD. Yes. So
that's awesome.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Anyway.
See? Now that's a great idea. All right. So
thank you, Nash.
Yeah, thank you, Nash, very much. Awesome Christmas present. He alluded that this would be coming in during the marathon, and I completely forgot about it, to be honest. So thank you, Nash.
We love you long time.
We love you. We love you. Wrong time. We should have Nash on the program at some point.
You know what?
That's
We
what we've
should.
never done. We need to have Nash on the program.
We need to ask Nash what he would like to talk about, because he is always good for a thorough and interesting discussion. We've had plenty of those before. So.
Yep. And if you ever long for an interesting discussion, check out Radio Dead Air. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Please do. Every Monday.
Every Monday for like the last 14 years.
Which is amazing. No, it's a great time. Anyway, now...
Yeah, so now the question and answer portion of the program, which is the third portion.
Which most people enjoy very much.
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
The ceremonial first question, which I think from now on will always have to go to Ian Ferguson, Pixicle on Twitter from the Pat the NES Punk Show.
Okay.
His question is it lasagne or lasagna? Thoughts?
I mean, I've never heard lasagne, so I'm always just going to say lasagna.
I'm wondering if that's like a Buffalo thing.
Maybe it is a Buffalo thing. I've never heard anybody say lasagne.
Because okay, so you're originally from Long Island area, and I'm from up north, like New England, and I've heard both from like Italian-ish families.
Yeah,
I've always heard lasagna. Maybe it's more of a real Italian thing to call it lasagna, like kind of like how cannoli. The plural of cannoli is cannoli.
Yes,
but people usually call it cannolis.
Yeah.
It's like an Americanization kind of thing. Like instead of Notre Dame, we call it Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because it's over here, but
right.
So that's a pretty easy one to answer. I'd say lasagna. I do enjoy.
I say lasagna too.
I enjoy me some lasagna. But
I think we figured it out. Maybe lasagna is like slang, by the way. Maybe lasagna is like, hey, get the lasagna.
Let me go get the papers. Get the papers.
Get the papers. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Man, there are a lot of questions here. All right, here we go. Sky Sam Freeman asks, was wondering if you and Rue would be doing another co-op 16-bit gems in the future. Zombies Ate My Neighbors was awesome.
That was fun to do.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Obviously every time we do a marathon, we end up playing that game again, and it's always reminded me of that. Awesome game. Kind of hard to do with this much miles between us.
Yeah, that's the truth. So probably not anytime soon. I need to focus on making a regular 16-bit gem. So yeah. That's
probably right.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. You're forgiven. Here we go. Let's see. Man, that's a tough name. I'm just going to say our friend Chris asks, what podcasts do you guys enjoy? Any recommendations, game related or otherwise?
That's actually really funny because we were talking about making that an actual episode where we just talk about things you should watch on the internet besides us.
Yeah.
And podcasts.
I think you should.
Yeah. You can still keep watching us, but podcasts were
don't leave us, please.
Yeah. Let me check my phony here, and I'll tell you what I want.
Make one recommendation. That way, we don't give away the whole
one
program. Well, we don't give away the whole program that we're going to do where we talk.
Well, my main recommendation would be Echo Screen Live, which comes out fortnightly now.
It's a fortnightly podcast.
Those two chaps are just hilarious. You can get it now on iTunes. And
the one with glasses is really good.
Oh, what? You can get it on iTunes and Stitcher and Android. Man, okay. You go first because I don't want to double up on what you were going to say.
I'm going to throw one out there, which you teed me up to. Although I've been into this guy for a very, very long time, but I've been jumping through the podcast, and that is Maddox over at the Best Page in the Universe. He has, if you ever follow the Best Page in the Universe, which I have for years.
It's a satirical.
Yeah. It's total satire. It's kind of it's very irreverent. I shouldn't say it's kind of irreverent. He's very irreverent. He is now a best-selling author, believe it or not. And had a YouTube channel. It still has a YouTube channel that I think is fantastic, which is part of the best page in the universe, where he basically just talks about stuff that really pisses him off, which is hilariously funny but very not appropriate for work. Anyway, he just started a new podcast called The Biggest Problem in the Universe, which basically he does along with his pal. What's his name?
Dick Masterson.
Dick Masterson, and they talk about kind of they nominate the biggest problem in the universe that week, and then people vote on it, and then the next time they decide a winner that means nothing, and they move on to the next thing.
Have you heard the latest episode?
I have not. I'm not even close. I'm working my way slowly through them. It's like 36 episodes.
Yeah, it's a bit raunchy, but it's silly and it's fun.
Very raunchy. Do not listen to this at work.
NSFW. I'm gonna go with Good Job Brain, which is a podcast. It's a quirky quiz show kind of podcast. They've had, I think, like 100 and some episodes, but it's co-hosted by Chris Kohler, who is also a very good video game journalist over at Wired. But basically, as a fan of pub trivia and trivia in general, these guys are pretty fun. They have a topic or a theme every week, and then they make up quizzes based on that theme, and not only quizzes, but they also will take maybe take a few minutes to go in depth on something related to it. Like, for example, they did one on landmarks not too long ago, and one of them talked about the history of the Statue of Liberty and some interesting things related to that. Like, for example, the first ticker tape parade in New York City happened spontaneously in celebration of the Statue of Liberty being put up. So, just again, very trivial information, but it's fun.
Good
and it's done well. They've won awards, I think. So check that out.
Let's see. Morgan asks, when I take ice cubes out of the fridge, they melt. Do I have melting powers?
You might want to check and see if you're the Human Torch.
Yes.
Because if so, that could be dangerous if you're filling gas at the gas station. My suggestion.
The first question you should ask yourself is, do you have excellent credit, like the Human Torch?
The Human Torch needs a bank loan.
No,
the Human Torch has excellent credit.
Excellent.
Super inside joke. Sorry.
Way inside. Like, so inside, there's like 3 people in the world that would understand that, and 2 of them you're looking at right now.
I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
we've been doing this for almost 6 years. Before we start a podcast, we do like the blah 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 unique
vocal
New York
warm-ups.
Unique New York,
and then New York,
and then we go. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan, and at one point, our friend's daughter was in the room, and she goes, "No," and Daniel's like, "You're right. The Human Torch has excellent credit." So cracks us up to this day.
I don't know why. It's not even funny.
Yes.
Okay.
But to answer your question, you're probably the Human Torch. You might want to be careful.
You probably do have melting powers.
Did you see the
next
new...
Next time you should pull the ice cubes out and concentrate on them not melting. And if they don't melt, then you probably do have some kind of power.
You might be out of control. Yeah. Actually, you should.
Yeah, that's true too. Maybe you have maybe like Jean Grey. You can't control your power. You can't control your mutant power.
And luckily, that turned out well for her in the end.
It did. Hey, look. I saw the X-Men movies.
Everyone was happy ever after in that one.
Oh yeah, it was great. They all walked away and had a beer. It was fantastic.
Speaking of, did you see the new Fantastic Four trailer? The Fantastic Four trailer?
I was just thinking the other day that I was like, did they just make 2 of these and then stop?
Yes, they did. But
it was kind of like the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, did they just make 2 of these and stop?
Because it was no damn good, but they don't want to...
Disney made 2 of them. I think there was another one made by somebody else.
No, it was Fox. Well, I mean, Fox made the other 2, and they need to make another movie or they're going to lose the rights to Marvel. So here comes another movie.
I see. I
don't know. It looked pretty generic to me.
I haven't seen it, no. Yeah. And I haven't even seen any of the Fantastic Four movies because I liked the Fantastic Four when I was like 8, and then I stopped liking the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see. The Lord of Nothing asks, would you say your philosophy is Aristotelian or Platonic? Now, this is a great question.
All right.
So I have always thought of myself more as an Aristotelian. in nature. Part of that is because Aristotle, in many ways, expands upon his mentor's philosophical teachings to include a lot of more practical, rather than kind of ivory tower practice. Not to say that Aristotle is an idealist. He's an idealist, definitely. But I would say my philosophy is much more Aristotelian in nature. What about you? Are you Aristotelian or Platonic, or do you think that those two should not necessarily be diametrically opposed?
Lasagna. I say lasagna.
All right. Good.
All right, next.
I would actually say that they probably shouldn't be diametrically opposed. I like Plato and Aristotle. They're both fantastic. Let's see. Dylan asks a question. What are your thoughts on rebooting classic movies, like the upcoming reboots of Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones? He likes it. He clearly likes it. He loves this idea. It's a great idea.
See, people are like, now, okay, so they just announced yesterday maybe that the rumor's been kicked around for a while that there's going to be an all-female Ghostbusters with like Kristen Wiig and what's her face and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, fine, we'll see if this works. But then the word came out, it's not a sequel, it's going to be a reboot, and I was just like, now it's completely unnecessary.
So they're rebooting Ghostbusters as with an all-female Ghostbuster
yes,
crew.
and I don't care that it's an all-female Ghostbuster crew. No. I think most people don't care, honestly, that's all-female Ghostbusters. No. They care that it's being rebooted. Because is that necessary? The answer is no.
No, it's not. It's not. No. But I could definitely see an offshoot. I could see some kind of sequel. I could see something like that where, hey, somebody picks up the mantle of Ghostbusters. Or
I mean, it's not going to ruin the original movie. The original movie is always going to be there. But the thing is,
Bill Murray is still alive.
He is?
He could pass the torch.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be involved with it. But I mean, the thing is that there have been a lot of reboots lately that people forget about 2 weeks after they're in the theaters. Like the RoboCop remake, the Total Recall remake.
I know. Everybody was talking about it, and then all of a sudden it was gone.
It was immediately gone. It's probably going to be the same thing with this Ghostbusters movie. It's like, oh yeah, Ghostbusters remake. What's next? All right.
The idea of, I think they picked the right person. I think I kind of like the idea of Chris Pratt as Indiana Jones.
Oh, I mean, that's fine, actually.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit better about the Indiana Jones reboot just because, I don't know, Indiana Jones was a fairly generic type character to begin with. It was a pretty, I mean, it was cool and fun and stuff, but it's like and I think Red Letter Media did a good job with this with their Crystal Skull review. It's like Indiana Jones, he's a pretty like a stock type character. Like, would you accept Indiana Jones doing his adventures without the hat and his jacket, and the whip?
Yes.
The answer is no. That's like almost critical, to the thing.
It is. Hey, did you see the new Mythbusters episode where they tested the Indiana Jones myths? By the way, like using a whip to swing across a chasm.
I did not.
Entertaining. It's entertaining. I think Harrison Ford is not Indiana Jones in terms of the character is bigger than just the actor.
Mm-hmm. And Chris Pratt is pretty awesome.
Chris Pratt is pretty awesome. He's certainly better than friggin' what's his face, Guy Ledouche. Who am I thinking of? What's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
The Transformers kid who's now in 12-year-old music videos.
Michael Cera.
Yeah, Guy Ledouche. Anyway, I can't think of the guy's name. Point is,
you didn't say that.
Where did I come up with Guy Ledouche?
From MXC.
Yeah, Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Anyway. What were you saying? I think he's much better than him. I think Indy, the character, is bigger than Harrison Ford. It's not like, although I would say it would be very difficult to do a same-aged version of Indiana Jones, as in the age Harrison Ford was when he was Indiana Jones. Without Harrison Ford. I
kind of like the Chris Pratt as a kind of a younger angle to it. It's
Shia LaBeouf. You actually weren't too far off.
See? Guy Ledouche.
And SC Scanlan makes a very good point. Remakes can be good if they're done well, like The Thing or The Fly, but they usually aren't. And Nash had a really good point about this. He tweeted this the other day, or again, I guess it was yesterday. He said, if like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were connected to this, he would feel a lot better. He would he would actually buy a ticket to see that. And I could see that because they are both, they're very good. I'm just afraid it's going to be a very generic-y comedy that won't have any style like the original had, No, maybe I'll be wrong. Who knows? But all that said, if they reboot Back to the Future, I'll be really pissed off because that's totally unnecessary of a reboot.
And I mean, at the end of the day, they made so many Ghostbusters and Back to the Future movies. They don't need to make more. There's no reason to make more.
Dr. Steve Brule with a very interesting comment about Guy Ledouche there in the comment section. All right.
Dr. Steve Brule, I love your program on Adult Swim. It's fantastic. All right, so let's see. Android Warrior 17. I saw Rue at MagFest with a 16-bit gem shirt. Are these or will these be on sale?
Maybe. Those were especially made by my girlfriend Pond Life in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Done very well. I have had a lot of people seeing me in them and asking about it. You know what?
Isn't that weird? We had shirts on sale for a long time, and the only people that bought them were our family. And
that was early on, though. So
yeah, it's true.
Mark Chan of Con Bravo, who is also our web guru, has been trying to tell us for a long time he wants to do shirts. So we need to talk to him again.
Yeah.
They should remake Clue. The original Clue is pretty terrible. That movie is just not good. I mean, especially the whoever that woman was who played Mrs. White. I mean, she's just awful.
Why you're doing this for you're doing this just to get under somebody's skin? It's not mine.
What?
But it's somebody's.
It's like you don't know me.
Yeah, I don't know whose skin you're trying to get under, but it's not mine. All right.
So the answer to that is maybe. About the shirts.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, here's the thing: if any of you guys want to buy merchandise from us, here's what you can do. Please let us know, because we totally we thought that ship had already sailed and that nobody ever wanted to buy our stuff. So we have all kinds of cool things. I have the Clan of the Grey Wolf mug. I showed up.
Psychopather bought a shirt.
Hey, see,
he's potentially the only person who ever bought a shirt. I want a picture of him in this thing if it still fits, because that is classic retro Clan of the Grey Wolf.
Didn't already fade out, like all the graphics on the shirt that I have completely faded by now.
Yes,
but that's because I wore it way too much because I really love that shirt. Anyway, not the point. All right, so we got to keep this moving here. We're already 10 minutes over time.
Oh my God, shocked.
All right. So this is I hesitate on how to ask this question because of something that you and I did right before the podcast began. But in any case, here we go. This is a question asked by Proxy, who is being asked for a friend. I can't make this up. Called Grapefruit. Mm-hmm. Okay. The question is pants or no pants?
So is the question that when you're doing the grapefruit technique, do you have pants or no pants?
I was wondering if that was actually the question. But I don't think she's that idea. Or is it more? Do we prefer to be in pants or without pants, or does it mean are we wearing pants right now? Those are the ways that I can try to figure out what that question is. Interpret that question.
I think it means it's time for some grapefruit technique with no pants on. Anyway,
no.
So to actually answer that question, I think we're both wearing the same.
Don't put headphones on. That'll hurt.
I think we're both wearing the same thing.
What do you mean?
In terms of undergarments, not undergarments, but lower garments. Because I did see you get up and walk away earlier.
Oh, in your
pajama pants.
Hilfiger pajama pants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's show them off. Come on.
Okay, hold on.
For anyone listening on the podcast, I'm sorry. I will describe for you what Mr. Kami is wearing.
Easy.
You are wearing Tommy Hilfiger pajama pants.
Pajama pants.
So you're a giant douche. Got it.
I am a giant douche.
Meanwhile,
a giant douche.
I have awesome plaid pajama pants, which are warm and cozy to keep me, protected from all the snow I'm not getting. So we are kind of wearing pants is the answer. We're wearing pants that you probably shouldn't wear out to the supermarket when you're getting milk.
And I think, as most guys would probably agree with us, I would say that my preferred state is not in pants, but in shorts, because shorts are definitely better than
I
pants.
have not worn shorts in so long.
Well, it feels that way. It's winter.
Yeah, I guess so. Apparently, the actual question was going through life better with pants or without.
Oh, I can't answer that question. I feel like there's like 3 or 4 layers to that. Going through life, I like going through life with pants. I'm a with pants person. What do you think?
I do change as soon as I get home from work to pajama pants.
I change,
So-
but generally probably not the first thing.
So I think I'd
Yeah.
prefer not to wear pants if possible.
Okay. Well, you are wearing pants. You're just wearing different kinds of pants right now. Just to be clear.
For the record, Psychopath in the chat is also in pajama pants. So,
Hey, see the veterans.
and I think
of
he
the program.
wins because it's Mario pajama pants. So,
Yeah, definitely. He doesn't have giant douche pajama pants. These were a gift, by the way. Thank you very much.
uh-huh.
Anyway,
I can tell. Why didn't you
let's
get a Wii
see.
U for a gift?
I don't know.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. LT Discotheque asks, Rue, have you ever considered reviewing Snatcher on the show? Also, what PS1 games do you like? Okay.
PS1
Non
games.
sequiturs.
There are some. I'll start with the last question first. I mean,
Yeah.
there are several. I mean, obviously, the PS1 is great for RPGs if you like
Yeah.
the ones of that era, which I mostly do. You know, Final Fantasy 7 and 9 are good. 8 can suck it. Xenogears is good. I need to play Suikoden 2. I hear great things about that. Just looking at what I have on the shelf. You know what I actually like that's not exactly a good game? Jedi Power Battles.
Oh, that's a great game for PS1. Also on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, we did have fun with that one. But those are some good ones. Snatcher, I will not review. I don't feel I know enough about it. What you know who did is John D'Elia from RetroWare TV. 8 years ago, literally did a video on Snatcher.
Anyways,
Which I just played the video audio of slightly. I'll put it. Let's see if I can actually put it in the chat. Probably not. Anyway, the point is that you should search for RetroWare and Snatcher, and you'll find it. But it's a very good. He's a giant fan of Snatcher, and so he could speak to it better than I ever could. So if you're looking for someone who reviewed Snatcher and knows what they're talking about, go for that.
Excellent.
The end.
PS1 games. I think there are so many great PS1 games. There were a lot of great classics, even though there are a lot of games that we can forget about now because they were so bad in terms of graphics. It's a good one on.
Oh, and Shane from here.
I'll pull one out of here that no one's probably going to think of, which is Ogre Battle on the PlayStation 1 is fantastic.
Okay.
It is the definitive Ogre Battle. It is much better than any of the previous generation versions, and the graphics are great. You can see what's going on. It is kind of the medium that Ogre Battle was meant to be played in. All right. Let's go through a couple of these pretty quickly here. All right. Chris asks, did I do it right? Yes.
All right. Good question.
Well, I'll give another one for free. Also, would you play Rock Band if it came back?
No.
Let's see. Psychopather, good friend of the program. Psychopather, who is wearing pajama pants.
Mario pajama pants.
Mario pajama pants. As someone about to enter college as a gamer,
Oh.
anything I should know specifically? So,
Wow.
as someone who won the title of Mr. Saturday Night, because I got to know my PS1 pretty well in college on Saturdays rather than going out and having fun.
Biblically?
I can tell you, yeah, right. I can tell you that, you can play video games for the rest of your life, but you can only go to college once. Keep that in mind.
Having said that, considering that when we went to college, you were like 3 years old. Literally.
Yeah, first of all, it's really sick of you that since we've known you and we started the website that you're now going to college. That's sick.
But I don't. Some things probably haven't changed. Some of my favorite memories were playing certain games with people in my suite, including Smash Brothers Melee, NCAA football because college, and like Mario Kart, things like that. So having said that, a good game system with local multiplayer capability is a good idea. And I know you have a Wii U, so consider bringing that in, and you can have some. There's a good chance for some fun times if you have roommates who are into that kind of thing.
Local multiplayer's back. Spread the word.
At least on Wii U.
Yeah, ish. Yeah. So anyway, enjoy your college years. But that being said, I think there's a lot of fun opportunities to be had in gaming, especially local multiplayer. Here's a really good one. I love this one, man. Anton asks, if you and Rue were put on the development team of a game, what area of the staff would you guys like to work in? What a great question.
CEO.
That's not an area of staff. That would be executive management.
Does that mean I get to go and go golfing and buy Ferraris while everyone else does the work? Because I want to do that.
Yeah. No.
No. Damn.
I don't think you're very good at that job.
Man.
I would like to be. I think I would probably like to be in the actual level design part of things. I like thinking about how players kind of work through problems and solve kind of the issues that appear to them on screen, and how they keep certain pieces of information in their head while they go do other things. That's interesting to me. So I find that stuff. I like watching stuff on level design. I like, at PAX East, I always try to see every panel that's on level design. I just find that stuff fun.
That is true. It's hard. I don't know a lot of the specifics about the, and teams can be very different, of course, depending on what game you're talking about. But I don't know. I feel I could have some fun with the script writing or storyboarding kind of stuff. I always thought it was an interesting idea, the idea of localizers who have to take games that are developed in other countries, like usually Japan. They get a translation and they have to make it make sense. It's kind of like a puzzle, a word puzzle, where you have to make it make sense for an American audience. By for example, in Animal Crossing, you take out Golden Week or something like that to put in Christmas.
Right.
That always seemed a little interesting to me. I don't know if I'd be any good at it, but yeah, sure, I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean that's no wrong answer. So it's probably as good as anything I can think of. I love that question though. These are the kind of questions we love to have. Yeah, it's just hypotheticals, crazy stuff. It's what we like. But we'll finish with a question that strikes at the heart of the topic du jour today. We'll finish with this one. Mini Arts 159 asks, do you think that if there is a worst game, but it had great graphics, do you think people would play it? And I think he means kind of hypothetical today, right? Oh. Like if there was a game that came out that people would say this is the worst game, as in worst existed, is the question.
Mm-hmm. I think certainly not. I think we're past that. If you were able to somehow transport a game that was absolutely terrible, but had the graphics of, I don't know what's come out lately, Call of Duty 69 or Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah,
and you brought it somehow magically and were able to sell it in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it would sell extraordinarily well.
Oh, unbelievably.
But nowadays, even with the latest technology that we can think of, which is usually virtual reality type stuff, like Oculus Rift,
right?
That's one of the big reasons I'm not even sure that what is considered cutting edge graphical technology, which we didn't even touch on.
No.
I don't know if that's really going to take off all that well, because I think to put that investment in the gameplay needs to be a step above. And I think that is not there yet. So
Yep.
that's the best example I can think of. That's an analog to what you're saying. Something that's really graphically amazing, but I mean, I've played Minecraft on Oculus Rift, and I was like, okay, well, it's kind of neat, it's different, but it's not really made for this platform. It's
Well,
it's kind of tacked on, and it didn't do it for me. It didn't sell me on
VR is about immersion, right? And video game, and that's a logical conclusion, because video games to a large extent are about immersion. And one of the tools that we use for immersion and experience, the easiest tools to really work with are graphics. That's was the conclusion we really came to today.
Yeah.
The problem is that's not all that it takes to be immersed in a universe. And you and I both know some of our favorite games are Final Fantasy VI, games that are 20 years old, games that really don't have very good graphics at all. But we were immersed because of all the other ways that the game could. And immersion is not just a function of the technology. It's a function of the experience, and it's a function of the way people make these games. And that's why the technology itself doesn't seem to me to be the be-all and end-all of the experience. That being said, if the HoloLens thing could, make you see a giant, or even just a big, I don't know, a velociraptor in your living room that was chasing after you, I think that would be pretty scary. So that would keep me immersed. I would be immersed for that. So
immersed
maybe
in your own urine.
Immersed in my own and filth. Don't forget that. So yeah. Hey, listen, another late great question came in that I have to ask. So I'm going to end with this one. I know I promised to end on the other one, but I'm going to end this one. From Broccalope, the question is, if you were felled by a Balrog, would you come back as the clan of the White Wolf? I like that question. I thought that was a good question.
Well, what's the answer?
No.
Is that an exercise to be left for the reader?
No. No. The answer is no.
We'd be pretty dead.
Yeah. When we came up with the name for this, I'm not even sure we were necessarily even thinking of gray being significant at all. I don't know.
It's just the name of the game.
Just the name. That's the name,
of the game.
And the name of this game
That's what we should have ended with instead of there's no reset button.
Right, yeah.
It's Clan of the Grey Wolf, and that's the name of the game.
The name of the game.
That's terrible.
Look it up.
Bada bing.
Yeah, take that one. Go check out your Super Nintendos, you jerks.
That's also a good sign off.
Go check out your Super Nintendos, you jerks. Yeah, so the name of this game is The Echo Screen Live, and thank you for playing along with us today, as always, here in the 53rd edition, where we talk about graphics and lasagna and other various topics.
And going to college.
It's really a show about a lot of things.
We now return you to your dreary existence.
I just kind of said something that came off the top of my head last time, and everyone reacted to this.
What was that?
And you recommended that I make that the new sign off, which is now you can go back. Now you can go back to the silence, the silent abyss that is your lives. And I didn't mean that as something that was demeaning in any way. I just meant that
feeling dark.
Gosh, your lives must be boring without us, is what I was trying to say.
Oh, well, that's much better.
Yeah. Gosh, your lives just must be so boring without us. Anyway, thank you all for listening. As Rue did indicate, we would like to be able to get into a better rhythm of the fortnightly podcast, which should make things a little bit easier to plan around, hopefully a little easier to market as well.
Market.
And which, market. But which also brings us to the next point, which is, as Ruth said before, listen to us on your favorite podcasting vehicle, and please do rate us on those podcasting channels.
Yes, that'd be awesome. We love you forever if you are able to do that, especially on iTunes, because that helps with visibility. So any sort of ratings you can leave, just take a minute out of your day, and we would really appreciate it, guys.
Yes, we really appreciate it.
You're the best.
Because even though this is surely a hobby for us and not our job, we do like to, have a good audience, and we would always like to accept more people into our little fold here.
We like having big heads.
We like having big heads. What are we talking about here? Is this a euphemism?
That's something else.
Yeah.
So you can next see us here live streaming in 2 weeks on February 11th, Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Awesome.
And we'll see you there.
Yeah, we will definitely see you there.
Play a Super Nintendo, you jerks.
Hey, and as I said, if you do have ideas for the show that you'd like to see as a part of the Echo Screen Live for a topic du jour, just let me know. Tweet me at It's the Commodore. You can even tweet Rue. Where can they tweet you?
At Rue_COTGW. Click and
check it out. Do it.
Bing.
Do it. Are you doing it? Do it now. Make suggestions. Anyway, whether you have suggestions or whether you don't, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Until next time, in 2 weeks now, I am the Commodore.
Hot damn.
And for Rue, from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, see you next time. And there is no reset button.
Bye-sies. So you know that Cersei dies in Game of Thrones, right? The next book that you haven't read. She dies in like the second chapter.
Why are you telling me this? Are you serious?
You
can't be serious.
Am I?
Oh, man, this is not fair.
I am Death, Destroyer of Worlds.
I have so many months to wait. Why did you do this?
Because it's fun. Now you don't know. You just don't know.
I just don't know.